Hello everybody! Welcome to my discussion of the House in Fata Morgana, A Requiem for Innocence, Chapter 2. Now, if you've read this game, you will know that Chapter 2 is an absolute monster because it shows how Jacopo has declined in full detail, and it really shows just... well, I mean... it shows somebody becoming the most awful person with the best intentions. If is that the road to hell is paved with good intentions quote. I mean, that is very, very relevant when you think about Chapter 2. And you see Morgana's life and obviously how it changes. You see Jacopo's life, and what's really impactful is you get more of an indication of why the village started hating him, and you also get an indication of Maria as well, and you get to learn what would have happened in Chapter 8 if Michelle had not prevented her from going into the Lord's Manor, which I really liked. I think Maria's story actually ended really well. That was definitely something. I feel like you just had all of the good stuff with Jacopo and obviously Morgana, and then you just had that on top of it. It was a really nice extra touch. So yeah, I think now we're just going to do what we usually do. Just going to talk about all of the individual sections of this chapter. So firstly, obviously, you have Jacopo becoming the Lord, and obviously after he's usurped Lord Barnier, and you just have Odilon, and it's just really funny. You see this in the beginning. You just see this total change all of a sudden. I mean, beforehand, it's just Jacopo would know everybody. I'm sure he probably he would have people he'd be a bit suspicious of, but it's just funny here. One of the first things that he actually questions is just whether he can trust this man, and he really, really has to make so many decisions before he can even trust him, and that's, I mean, I think that is just an introduction to how hellish this lifestyle is. You do not know if you can trust people whatsoever, and I mean, where would it be? It would probably be around... yeah, it would be here, actually. Yeah, when he was betrayed by Gratian as well. I mean, what a good example of that. Hang on just a second. I've just got to check. Do you know what? I will just put my cursor on so that you can see what I'm referring to. But, yeah. Anyway, yeah, so you just see this real change in his lifestyle when you see, obviously, the relationship with him and Odilon developing, but you also see just this really interesting theme, the fact that, like I said, with good intentions, Jacopo was trying to do what he really wanted to do, which was save the people so that nothing horrible like what happened to him could happen to anybody else, and actually repair the damage that Lord Barnier had done. But I mean, he kind of really followed Odilon's approach because he had no idea what he was doing. And then that kind of caused... well, I mean, obviously he was wanting to look after the poor, but he felt as if he needed to boost economic development by obviously bringing new prospects into the city to look after the poor. So obviously he had the good intention, but nobody realised it. So obviously then they get very, very angry at him, and that makes all of the awful events that contribute to his decline begin. And yeah, you just see... oh, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So, if I'm going to be honest, I felt like Jacopo's approach was... it was kind of... I mean, obviously you need to win the favour of high society, otherwise you can't survive in hell like this. But at the same time, I feel like he prioritised the poor too little. And if he was just a bit fairer, then maybe this could have... well, maybe this could have ended differently. Who knows? But it is interesting that Jacopo's intentions were really unknowingly making the poor's life harder. Because there was the example somewhere, I can't remember where it was mentioned, where obviously he was bringing in lots of trade sources from other places, because I think they didn't have the most arable land in the place they were, in the region that he was governing over. So yeah, it was kind of imports. Sorry, yeah, he was getting imports rather than actually growing rather than making the people grow stuff themselves, and that's kind of how the economy worked. And the thing is, when that economy grew, it's just all of the slaves and obviously the poor people, the people who he's trying to protect, they're just being worked so hard. And the thing that I find so interesting about that is he's not really aware of that. And yeah, there were so many things that I just think really contributed to this decline. And like Barnia said, it was a fucking curse being a lord. It really was. And yeah, then obviously life with these guys develops and he gets used to being a lord, but then obviously, like Odilon said, unfortunately, yeah, bad issue. Yeah, you're just too human. Yeah, you're just too trusting of the people that you have known for years. And then obviously that event with Gratian, that really changed him. And I think it's really interesting, the total trauma with Barnia, and my god, his theme becomes so apparent in my head. I can remember it so much just because of scenes like this. And I love the CG. I like the CG with Jacopo really looking like he's, I don't know, kind of strangling himself as well. It's a good CG. But yeah, it's just, what's the next? Oh, not really the most indicative photo of what I read here, but yeah, around here as well. Oh yeah, I know where this is from. But yeah, we then have Odilon dying, and Jesus Christ, it's just interesting. I think Odilon dying was the change for Jacopo. So I think that Jacopo's changes, his big changes in character, have two themes. The fact that he wasn't in fully sound mind when making them. So I think Ginevra totally took advantage of Jacopo while he was in a state of grief to make it so that he would have the drive to start a revolution. And I say that because in the Midsummer Festival, it was his thoughts on starting another revolution. They were totally opposite, and he was obviously confronting Gratian about them. So I think that was the first part. He became a lord because he was just driven by grief, really. And then he started his rule in fear, and he started doing what Lord Barnia used to do because he was in grief from losing Odilon. And yeah, then it's just his moral compass just totally goes because he thinks that he can justify killing 12 people, and not only that, shaming their corpses just because of the fact that they have killed Odilon. But I mean, it's tricky because I say he thinks he can justify it, but at the same time, by the law. So by the law, it is justified, but obviously in the present time, you would just think of something like that as just senseless murder. Or at least I don't know, I would. But at the same time, we've been growing up with values different to the ones here, so it's actually kind of hard to fully interpret just what is... Well, I don't know, just how you would morally view this. But the morals may be a bit ambiguous, but there is one clear fact, and that is the fact that this really caused Jacopo just to begin ruling in fear, because people would keep on defying him, and honestly, they would just make his life more difficult, so he just stopped. And the thing is, I mean, Jacopo, like, this job is horrible because he just can't ever stop. He can't have a rest. He just has to work 7 days a week, probably every hour of the day. So it's really demanding. And it does kind of make sense that when he is not in sound mind, he would just make these moves that, let's just say, he never would have made 2 years ago. Yeah, and then obviously everything goes downhill from here. Can I just mention, I think the stuff with Odilon was quite good. I think there were some info dumps, but if I'm going to be honest, I don't know about you guys, but if the info dump is about something interesting, which I think it was here, I don't actually mind it. And that was kind of what I felt with this. Anyway, yeah. I think the main thing I want to point out with this scene here is just Jacopo looking. He's just on the top of the well, on his manor, really, his fucking massive house. And yeah, you just look out to the horizon and you realise that everything with Morgana, it could not possibly be more distant, and it could not be something that would happen again. And it's interesting, actually, seeing Jacopo here really beginning to realise that his ambitions and the things that led him here are really not that good. They're not actually what he wanted, and his ambitions were ultimately completely formed on just a false impression of what they would be. Like, for example, him thinking that him having lots of money, him having lots of power as well, that would just be a ticket to a leisurely life where he could enjoy himself. I think this image here shows that that is not the case. Oh my god. That is a rough joke to make, but yeah, you get what I mean. It's hell rather than peace. But yeah. I mean, that's the worst thing. Jacopo's fully alone now, and yeah, like Maria said, that Jacopo, the one that she knew, he properly died when well, when the raid happened, really, and when he did the revolution. Yeah, and I mean, it's just the worst. So you're lonely as hell, and you just don't have anybody to really understand your true intentions as well. And you have all of these arseholes in higher society as well, and you have a secret to keep, and you have assassination attempts. I mean, there's just so many things that make this so stressful. And then, my god, here you can really see how desperate he is for power. You can just see, well, him making probably the worst mistake anybody could possibly make. Because I suppose in these cases, I mean, I think what was especially interesting to me was when he was using alcohol to totally drown himself out. Because he just couldn't bear the haunting, I suppose, delusions that Lord Barnier, well, that are centered around Lord Barnier, and yeah, he just becomes increasingly unstable, and in order to manage how unstable he's being, he dehumanizes himself. Yeah, and then it's just this scene here. I mean, it's just ultimate pain. But at the same time, I feel bad for Jacopo, but at the same time, I don't. So obviously, I feel bad for him because it's Morgana, and yeah, you know what. But I don't feel bad for him because, one, you could have said no, like Michelle said in chapter 8. You do not know how many times in my head I've thought about this story, and then I've just thought, oh, you could have done what Michelle said. Seriously. That you prioritise yourself over what mattered more, let's be honest. I mean, obviously he didn't really feel like he couldn't, but still, he shouldn't have done that. And also, I mean, yes, one sacrifice is worthy for the entire economic growth and development and just in general good future of the city. Firstly, you are not aware of how bad a lot of people's lives have been as a result of you, but secondly, yeah, this kind of serves him right. I mean, for not really viewing the importance of a human life. I mean, I suppose it is hard in a position like this. And obviously it is understandable for somebody like Jacopo, considering that, oh shit, hang on a second. Considering that he's a fucking murderer, but yeah. I can't believe it. I thought my webcam was centered, but it wasn't. That's really annoying. Yeah, anyway, so we just see Morgana being captured and absolute pain for Jacopo. And then we go to Morgana. Oh, no, this is not Morgana. This is not Morgana either. This is not Morgana either. Yeah, then we go to Morgana's life here, and holy shit, really, really nice stuff. Do you know what? If I'm going to be honest, I feel like I was really scared that with Morgana's story, we just didn't really need to see it, and I thought it was just going to be a total repeat of everything that we saw in, firstly, Chapter 7 in the salvage. Sorry, it's not Chapter 7, it's the salvage section before Chapter 7 in the original game, but also a bit in Chapter 8 as well. I'm glad that we got a lot of new content, and we just see Morgana's really, really self-contained life. And my god, that scene where she sees Jacopo, that is so painful. And yeah, we also just see how everything develops, and the really interesting ways in how she's treated, and how obviously Mel contrasts all of them. And I like seeing, oh my god, I love the part where she fully turns to sainthood. Actually, just before that, I wonder if I should, yeah, I might as well. So yeah, it is interesting how you really see Morgana trying to make a living, and you just see her insecurities, like her face. They will never ever go. They really won't. It's just really quite horrible to see how that affects her life. But then obviously we see the stuff with Mel, and we see Morgana's kindness ultimately get the worst of her. If Morgana was not a kind person, she would be alive. She would not have died such a painful death. I mean, let's be honest, because of everything that happened with her and Barnia when she was fucking 9 years old, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if her life expectancy was significantly shorter, but she still would have been able to live and not die the most absolutely horrible death. But, yeah, ultimately her kindness for trying to help Nelly, that is what somehow caused the rumours to spread. Can I just mention, I wish there was more explanation for how the rumours spread. I don't like that there's not much. But, yeah, rumours of her sainthood spreading, and then, obviously, Jacopo thinking that that could be used to steal his, well, people would put their faith in her instead of him, so he then captures her, because it's just a game of power to him. Yeah, and I mean, you see this part where you see all of her arm, which has been healed by the ointment that Jacopo has given her, and then you just see her cutting it to give blood to Nelly, and you quite literally see, like, a metaphorical way of saying that she is just undoing all of the good that Jacopo did to her, and all of her humanity is just going. And I think, honestly, it's always, the sainthood was always just a way of hiding pain. It really was. I mean, for example, using the sainthood as a means of hiding the fact that her mum was a charlatan. That was the first reason it was done, I suppose. And also, yeah, here it probably is as well, just because of loneliness, and also, well, I suppose just how different your life is, and I suppose concern for Mel as well. Yeah, then, oh my fucking god, this scene. So this video here is actually a little bit of an indication of just how much I like this scene. Oh, I don't know if you can see it all, actually. Yeah, so it says, no, you will be able to see it, actually. Yeah, so this scene shows how amazingly the visual novel medium can portray horror and drama. Basically, I found this scene absolutely insane. Is this... Can I zoom it in more? Nah, let's go here. Oh, this scene was so good. So this is when Morgana meets the swordsman again, and oh my fucking god. I've never really played a scene that has affected me like this one did, because holy shit. So just imagine the best music, really good use of the visual novel medium to create a horrifying picture. As you can see here, just text and really good writing and total brutality, and just really highlighting the sense of betrayal that Morgana thinks, because she just has such a small amount of... She has no idea of what is happening. And especially you just see her thinking that she's finally going to be able to resolve stuff with Mel. Oh, no, fuck you, it's the opposite. Yeah, goodbye left arm. I mean, it's just insane. This scene was amazing, but it was so cruel. It really was, and it's definitely the most dark thing I think is actually in the visual novel. But it's really good. It is absolutely amazing. And then, my God, seeing how it's actually quite funny seeing how Jacopo really, well, she doesn't even see Jacopo, she just sees Lord Barnier. And in the end, funnily enough, when she does see Jacopo, when her mind is, well, when she does see Jacopo, he says the line, yeah, we'll continue as planned and lock her up. Yeah, he says the line that Lord Barnier would say, so it doesn't really feel like there's a difference. Yeah. Jacopo could never be recognised, and yeah, same for this. And then you just see Jacopo totally trying to dehumanise himself. I mean, of course he fails, but yeah, you just really see him trying to dehumanise himself here, and you see him becoming worse and worse, and you see Maria's life and how it has gone to shit because of the phasing out of the slums and just in general increasing economic prosperity as well. And you see her talk to Mel, and funnily enough, Mel does not like Jacopo, so obviously they do kind of cooperate together, but then Mel's a coward, so yeah, doesn't work. I mean, to be honest, I don't blame him, but yeah. It's just interesting that Maria learned how to write, if you ask me, so that she could maybe think about helping Jacopo. Just do everything that he would normally do. I mean, she was thinking maybe of trying to talk to him and trying to see who he is, and then just by hearing the description that Mel says, you realise that he is such a lost cause. But you only realise until the end the fact that he does definitely maintain humanity. You really do. But yeah, what's the next part? Oh, this scene was really good, and my God, if it wasn't for Maria, this would have never happened, though. That's the thing. And yeah, you just see Jacopo being totally desperate in every respect, but it is an amazing scene. And God, just seeing him, so I suppose he's just, it is just quite awful seeing how unrealistic he kind of thinks about everything. And he's really, this is kind of him accepting everything he has done, because ultimately, no matter how much he has tried to dehumanize himself and how awful his life has been, he's always kind of the same person at heart, and you can really see that in this scene. And I think he's kind of accepted that, and if I'm going to be honest, I feel like here he has also just stopped seeing the point in his life. He really has. Because no matter how much he tries to dehumanize himself, he just can't live with himself. And he hates that his life has gone this far. So, yeah, as you can see here, this scene, he's just trying to reach his hand out to Morgana. Nothing's happening. He can never, ever reach her. But, I mean, unfortunately, I think he deserves that. But, yeah. The music's really good for this scene as well. And then you kind of see, after this as well, the day of the Harvest Festival, you see him being abnormally nice to people. Yuki Masa letting him have the day off, and, for example, being nice to Nelly, surprisingly nice. And, yeah, just Mel just being really surprised that he could have been so nice. And obviously not accepting it, because he was a monster. But, yeah. Yeah, and then you see him die because everything goes wrong in the end, and my God, I love this scene so much, because it's just really, you really get the impression that Jacopo has just had his best ever like he's had an epiphany, really. He has an epiphany and then he dies, really, because he was going to free Morgana, but it was too late. And I mean, obviously it was really bad timing, but still, if I'm going to be honest, I mean, Jacopo still had these dreams of being Jacopo in Morgana's eyes, being the old man that he was, rather than the new man, and just being able to take Morgana somewhere and then doing what she wants the most, i.e. having her life taken, and obviously him suiciding as well under a beautiful view. I mean, I'm sorry, but you don't treat people like you do with Morgana. I mean, I get that it was a big mistake, but you don't treat people like that and then expect that things are going to go your way. Just know, if I'm going to be honest, it is quite a realism check. And it's interesting. I remember there was this scene where Jacopo saw the old self, kind of like a projection, an illusion of his old self, and just asking, why did it have to be like this? What the fuck happened? But yeah, I remember him describing himself as somebody who has his head in the clouds, because ultimately his outlook on everything, he just wasn't realistic. And that's the worst thing, because as a result of that, this has happened. This horrible, painful death has happened. And yeah, so after this, obviously, we see the really, really powerful scene with how he dies as well. You just see him imagining everything in a dream world where everything is ideal, Morgana has no facial problems, and they can just live a nice life. Was it Pauline and Yukimasa saying, oh yes, I just want an ordinary life, but it was the best life I could have had? No, sorry. Yeah. It was ordinary, but it was amazing. Yeah, and it's just interesting that Jacopo, his soul, it's kind of like the Lord stuff is a curse. And here, even though he is past the point of no return, he just really sees enlightenment, and then he just totally lets go of this stupid Lord stuff, because ultimately it does nothing to him. He gains nothing from it. There is no point of him being a Lord. No way. And he just really lets his imagination wander to where he thinks it should be, really. And obviously Morgana dies at 12, and yeah. Then we have the fabulous oh, that's not chapter 2. This story is really fucking good, by the way. Not the biggest fan of the twist, but yeah, anyway. Yeah. Actually, I think the twist is good, it's just not really my favourite. But yeah, anyway. Then we see the last part, which is the fact that Maria has gotten away. And you just see the really interesting responses, because obviously there's the fact that Morgana's blood was infected, and then everybody who drank it became equally as infected with the plague, or at least some sort of really bad illness. Maybe it was a plague. And do you know what? If Jacopo drank that blood, which I don't know if he did or not. I mean, knowing him, he probably wouldn't. But wait, no. Hang on a second. I'm getting confused. No. I can't actually remember. Did they hand out blood for free? Or did they do it? Well, I mean, obviously before they did it for... No. No, so they did it in exchange for tithes. So that was probably... Yeah. So all of the people who had that blood, yeah, it had a bit of an opposite effect. Not the intended effect, i.e. themselves dying. And, yeah, then the plague spreads, and obviously conflict spreads as well, because people just have a ridiculously unrealistic outlook on what it is they're actually facing. They think it's a curse, and they keep the curse sealed in the mansion. I mean, ironically, it is an infectious disease, so it does kind of work like a curse, because if you keep an infectious disease locked up and contained in one area, and nobody goes near said area, then the infection could, in theory, stop. So, I mean, it does kind of have similar logic. But that's why, I suppose, it's so easy to justify the logic of it being a curse. Because it does kind of have real-world significance. But, yeah, my god, it was so nice seeing everything with Maria. And fucking hell, that dream at the end. You just see Maria's head totally wandering off into the clouds after the bloody painful death that she did not deserve whatsoever. And, yeah. You just really see, oh yes, let's just go to the pub together, have some fun with all of her friends. None of them are dead. And then you see her actual face. I actually have it somewhere, hang on. Right, little gore warning, I suppose, but yeah, this is the CG. Yeah, this CG is so cool. It really just gives you such a shock as to how fucking horrifying this disease is. I mean, look at her hands. It looks like she's burnt herself or something. Cooked hands. Yeah, and obviously you see how terrifying everything is. You really do. It's a properly shocking end to the story. I never really thought it was an end. I was just kind of, we didn't really need that ending, but I think it was very, very nice touch. It was just cherry on top of the cake, I suppose. But yeah, anyway, that was everything I wanted to talk about in chapter 2, and yeah, it was honestly a really good chapter. And yeah, it's just so nice seeing the story of Jacopo really, really developed. And if I'm going to be honest, I'm quite surprised that we saw the story in a lot of detail in chapter 8, yet at the same time, we saw it in so little detail, and there was so much that was new that we could gain from reading this. I really do think Requiem for Innocence is just an essential read, because it is a fucking good story. And yeah, I think it just makes everything better. And do you know what? I won't really talk much about the side story because I'll do a separate video for that. But it's really interesting. So you see everything here in the way that obviously Morgana's life has been affected by Jacopo and Lord Barnier. And then you just see in this story, you just see such a contrast in Morgana's personality. I mean, obviously you've always seen a contrast in the past and present Morgana, but it's just cool seeing that instantly after reading this. And, well, I suppose that is if you decide to read this side story first. If I'm going to be honest, I'm with a lot of the side stories, by the way, I'm surprised that they're not in the original game. Like, for example, I've only read 2 out of 3 of the Tales Wasted Away in Obscurity, but they could easily... No, they would fit more in the original game than here, if you ask me. Anyway, yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this, because, yeah, it was really quite fun to discuss. And, yeah, I will see you guys in the next video, where we're going to be discussing all of the side stories. We'll do the side stories, we'll do the backstage, and, well, that's it, actually. But, yeah, we'll do those. So, see you guys then.